The Princess of the River, A Tale of Destiny and Deceit. Chapter 1. The King's Burden in the Flourishing Kingdom of Dharanpur. King Virendar ruled with wisdom, fairness, and a heart deeply devoted to his people. The only shadow that lingered upon his throne was worry for his daughter, Princess Anandi. She had grown into a graceful, intelligent young woman whose beauty was spoken of across distant borders. Yet despite countless proposals from noble houses, generals, scholars, and even neighboring kings, none seemed worthy of her. Something in the king's heart always resisted, whispering that destiny had chosen a path beyond his understanding. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the palace walls, the king sat alone in his courtyard. His most trusted adviser, sage Rudranath, known to all as the Raj Vidyak, noticed the tension on the king's brow and approached gently. "My king, your spirit appears heavy. Share your burden, so I may help lighten it." The king sighed, his voice trembling slightly. "My daughter deserves a companion who can match her destiny, yet none feel right. I fear that forcing fate may bring harm." The sage bowed thoughtfully. "Destiny leaves signs. Perhaps her birth chart can reveal what your eyes cannot." The king agreed. That night, in the quiet of his chamber, the sage studied the celestial marks of the princess's horoscope. As he ran his fingers through the ancient symbols, his eyes widened. A woman destined to elevate the one she marries. A man who unites with her will rise beyond imagined heights. A whisper stirred in the sage's mind, not of wisdom, but of greed. "Why give this fortune to another? Why should I not be the one to ascend?" But instead of revealing the truth, he clouded it with lies. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "her marriage may bring ruin to her own family. She must be kept from all suitors until destiny directs her to the rightful one." Thus began a plan rooted not in duty, but in deception. Chapter 2. The Chest of Destiny. Under the sage's guidance, the king reluctantly agreed to place Princess Anandi in a grand wooden chest filled with protective jewels and blessings. Though the idea broke his heart, he believed it was the only way to shield his family from harm. When he informed Anandi of his decision, her eyes glistened with confusion and sorrow. "Father," she whispered, "I have always obeyed your word. If this is the path you choose, I will follow it, though my heart trembles." The chest, beautifully carved with lotus motifs, was carried to the riverbank at dawn. Priests chanted hymns for safety, while the king placed a final kiss on his daughter's forehead. The chest was gently pushed into the shimmering waters, where the current embraced it and carried it forward. Inside, Anandi wiped her tears and whispered a prayer. "May destiny bring light where I see only darkness." The river flowed through forests, villages, and moonlit plains. Hours later, far from the palace, Prince Arjun of the kingdom of Vrishlok was resting with his soldiers after a long hunt. He knelt at the river to wash his hands when something unusual glinted in the water. A floating chest. He murmured. Curiosity stirred within him. "Retrieve it," he ordered. His soldiers dragged the chest ashore. As they opened it, golden light spilled out, and in its midst sat Princess Anandi, her expression a mix of fear and hope. "Who are you?" Prince Arjun asked gently. She recounted her story, the king's fear, the sage's warning, the exile she never asked for. The prince listened deeply, moved by her truth and her courage. "If destiny placed you before me," he said, kneeling, "then I will honor it. Will you accept my hand, not as a burden, but as a choice?" Tears of relief flowed as she nodded. Her fate, once uncertain, began to take shape. Chapter 3. The Sage's Fall. Meanwhile, Sage Rudranath waited eagerly for the chest to reach his hermitage downstream. He had secretly instructed his disciples, "When the chest arrives, carry it to my private chamber, lock the door. Whatever you hear, no matter what I say, you are not to enter." His disciples bowed respectfully, unaware of the deceit behind his instructions. When the chest finally reached the hermitage, the sage's pulse quickened. He imagined treasures, power, and the rise of a future no one else deserved. As the disciples carried the chest inside, he dismissed them quickly and locked the door behind him. "My destiny is finally in my hands," he whispered, dropping to his knees beside the chest. But when he lifted the lid, the room exploded with a fierce roar, not of divine blessing, but of raw fury. A massive bear burst out, its growl shaking the wooden walls. Its fur was matted, its claws sharp, and its eyes blazing with primal rage. The sage stumbled backward. "No, no, help, open the door." Outside, his disciples exchanged worried glances, but the chief disciple reminded them, "He said no matter what he says, we must not open it." Inside, chaos erupted. The bear lunged at the sage, overturning shelves and smashing clay pots. Rudranath screamed, begged, pleaded, but every cry was swallowed by his own greed. Prince Arjun had discovered the bear earlier during his hunt, safely sedated by his soldiers. Realizing someone would track the chest, he had placed the bear inside to mislead potential pursuers, to protect Anandi from harm. He never imagined the sage himself would be the one trapped by it. By the time the disciples dared to look after hours of silence, the chamber was a ruin, and the sage's ambition had consumed him. Destiny had delivered justice in the most unexpected form. Chapter 4, The Path of Honor. News of the sage's demise soon reached the king. Shocked and heartbroken, he realized how blind trust had endangered his daughter. Regret weighed heavily on him, but destiny had more to reveal. Days later, a messenger arrived from Prince Arjun's kingdom. The letter described how the prince had found Princess Anandi, sheltered her, and asked for her hand with respect, not greed. It told of her safety, her dignity, and her blossoming happiness. The king's heart, once heavy with fear, filled with gratitude. He journeyed with his council to Vrishlok. When he entered the royal courtyard, he saw his daughter standing beside Prince Arjun, her eyes bright with peace. She rushed into her father's arms, and for the first time in months, he felt whole again. Prince Arjun bowed. "My king, I did not seek your daughter for power. I only wished to honor the destiny that brought her to me." The king placed a hand on his shoulder. "A man who speaks with such humility deserves not only my daughter, but my respect." Their wedding was celebrated with joy across both kingdoms. Under their combined wisdom, Dharanpur and Vrishlok entered an era of unity and prosperity. The story spread across lands, not just because a princess found love, but because a kingdom learned that destiny favors those who act with honor, not deceit. The downfall of sage Rudranath became a lesson carved into memory. Greed blinds, deception destroys, and the path taken by force always leads to ruin. But the journey walked with integrity, though uncertain and unplanned, leads to a future brighter than any prediction. And so, the princess who was sent away in fear returned as a queen guided by courage, truth, and the destiny that was always hers.